up to Alamogordo this morning. Figured I'd do a live stream, bring you guys with me, and we'll do some brainstorming together. Or rather, well, I can't read the messages because I'm driving, but maybe you can be with me while I'm doing some brainstorming. I was just thinking about some of the ways that we can resist this CBDC, because if the New World Order and World Economic Forum get what they want, we're not going to be able to use our credit and debit cards. We're not going to be able to transact in cash and coin anymore. They're probably going to make it illegal, and so for that reason, I was thinking, ledgers are really going to become a valuable asset, not just to have, but to know how to use. And so, I was doing some thinking about ledgers and how would you validate the transactions inside the ledger, and how would you enforce those transactions if if it's agreed upon by two parties and the transaction is not fulfilled, right? So I'll wait for you guys. We'll talk about those things, and I'll wait for you guys to get in here. We'll talk about what is a ledger, how to use it, how to improvise it, and how to enforce the transactions, really. So let me see. I got a couple people in here. This is what it looks like. Can't take my eyes off the road too much. Give me a thumbs up if you're in here. I only see a couple of you. We'll get started in just a minute. I'm driving to Alamogordo right now, so I got quite a bit of time on my hands. So I figured I'd do a live stream. Roy just texted me. Can't read it right now, but anyways. All right, so let's talk about a ledger. What is a ledger? A ledger, ledgers were used all over the world, up to like 100 years ago. It was a very common thing that merchants would use, and even households. Most every household had a ledger, and it was basically just an easy way to keep track of transactions that occurred, whether the transaction was an IOU, a debt that would be paid for a service, or a service that would be paid for a product, or whatever. It was essentially a way to keep track of bartering. And what it would consist of primarily is an item number, right? Or a transaction number on one column. It would have the name of the parties involved in another column, and then thered be a larger box or column box that consists of a description of what was being exchanged, whether it was a service or a product, or whatever. And then another row would be the agreed price for that product or service. What price did you agree upon to transact that service or that product? And then another column would consist of a signature, and another column would consist of a date. Now when we're talking about enforcing or validating these transactions, you're gonna need, like, let's say you have a group of 25 people or 30 people or whatever. You're gonna need to designate somebody to be what I would say the market master, or basically just a judge. And what they're going to have is they're going to have a file of everyone's signature rather. And so they will be the final authority to validate the signature in your ledger. So if you guys have, if you have signet stamps, basically just a stamp that has somebody's signature on it, and then that stamp is on file with a market authority in your group, that way you'll be able to bring those cases to an authority to handle the situation. Like, for example, let's say John Doe is in your group. Well, you gave John Doe a quarter of a pound of rice and 10 eggs for 8 hours of his physical labor, right? Well, John Doe only gave you 4 hours of his physical labor, and then he decided that that was enough, right? He decided that on another 4 hours, I'm not doing it. Well, you have it in the ledger. You have it in that he agreed upon the 8 hours. His signature's there, right? And he refused to fulfill the agreement. Well, you could bring that ledger with his signature to the market master or to the judge or whatever, and you could essentially force him to pay what he owes, right? And the only way that you'd be able to follow through with that in your group is if you have designated, right, handle those situations, and not only just to be able to, he's got to be able, or she's got to be able to validate that signature. That's the most important part, right? Because if you can't validate the signature, then it could have been forged, right? And so that's why you ought to have some kind of stamps in your group. You ought to have some kind of signature stamps on file. So each person that's in your group will have a file designated for their signature with an authority who is designated to oversee the issues which may arise in the ledger. So the reason we're talking about this, the reason why it's important, is because there's a very good possibility that if the New World Order and the World Economic Forum get what they want, we will not be able to use gold, silver, or cash, or coin, or whatever. There's a good possibility if we get caught with that stuff, we could get in trouble, right? So you've got to be able to keep track of transactions without gold and coin, right? So knowing how to use a ledger is going to be important, so you can keep track of all these things, because a lot of people also won't have gold and silver. They won't have gold or silver to barter with, and they're going to want to exchange their time, their service, or other things for your items. And you're going to come in to keep track of this stuff. But anyways, guys, I think I'm losing you. I think the signal might be real low, or either that or the content's not good. Looks like you guys are dropping out. So just wanted to basically briefly touch on ledgers. I'll probably make a video for my underground economy playlist for you guys, just reiterating the things that I said in this video, kind of making it a little bit more succinct than I did in this video. I'm also going to put out a free ledger that you guys can download at archive.org. There's going to be a single PDF you can download that you can print out. It's going to be the ledger that we described here in the beginning of the video. And then I'm also going to try to make a booklet type of ledger. So it'll be a ledger on front, it'll be front and back. So you'll be able to print this out, basically a landscape form, and then fold the page, and it'll be a booklet. You'll be able to make booklets. You can print out copies, them you can in front of your mind, because if they outlaw, or if they ban cash, or if they ban coins or gold and silver or whatever, you're gonna need another way to keep track of your transactions, and a ledger is the way to do it. There were a lot of traveling merchants, a lot of peddlers that started off with just a couple saddlebags and a donkey, and they had a ledger, and they would go into a town, and most of the time when they do transaction, it would just be in a ledger, because the people didn't have money, and they would just bring stuff to them for resale of what they owed, what they took from them. And these traveling merchants, these peddlers, they did very well with nothing more than just a couple saddlebags on a donkey and a ledger. I mean, there's a story about a guy named Leo Mendez from Albuquerque, that he started off with nothing but a pair of saddlebags, a ledger, and one donkey, and he ended up becoming a banker, very, very prominent banker in this area. And it's all just because he knew how to keep track of his transactions, his ledger, and he had, the ability to see what things are valuable, right? What did people need, and what were they willing to basically go into debt for? So, all right, guys, looks like everybody's dropped out, so I'm not going to be talking to myself. Only got one person in here. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. As always, don't forget, help out your neighbors. Bye.